So I'm very confident in saying that you guys have probably never been to any active shooter training where there was a focus on the fighting component, correct? Everything was just based on, here is a school, here is a structure, and now tactics. And that is very flawed, because you're going to have an engagement. Well, actually, let me back that up. There was a point in time when I started teaching this program here in North America. This was right after 9/11. North America was turned upside down on their heads all of a sudden, starting to scurry to figure out, okay, the world has changed now. And the threat has changed, and it's attacking us, and now what do we do? And so we were very busy. Israelis were getting imported into North America left, right, and center. And up until about 2008, I believe it was, there was no such thing as any active shooter incident that occurred in North America where the shooter was stopped by police bullets. Every incident up to that point was the shooter had either given up and sat there and waited for police to arrive and take him to custody, or they killed themselves. And I believe it was 2008. It was Fort Hood. What year was Fort Hood? Do you remember exactly? Okay. With Nadal Hassan. That was the first time ever that you had a single officer, a female military base officer that showed up and engaged him and shot him. Didn't kill him, but shot him. That was the first time. And so all of the active shooter mentality and strategies and methodologies that have been developed from the beginning of Columbine were all based on no threat environments. There was the talk of you're going in and there's going to be a threat, and so you have to have all this heightened sense and tactics and the whole bit, but none of them were based on what actually happens when you are in the actual situation, an actual environment of an active shooter, and it is still live. Rounds are flying. You have a killer going around hunting, killing people, and you have to actually get to them. And that mentality and that platform has still carried over to a lot of what is still being conducted today, because that has been the historical platform. So everything is still kind of sitting on that platform. It changes everything, everything. When you pull up to a scene and you hear the gunshots, you see people running, it changes everything. Big difference between that and when you pull up on scene and it's all quiet. There's nobody around anymore. You might still have some victims hiding under desks, but there's no bad guy that killed himself or ran away, and everything is quiet. What is, number one, we look at objectives. We have to understand objectives to make sure that what we're doing is accurate. What is the objective of the active shooter threat of today? The Islamic jihadist active shooter. What is their objective?
Kills many innocents.
Very good. It's to kill as many innocent people. That was not the objective of any other type of active shooter. You've had instances where you've had active shooters historically here in North America where there were large numbers of casualties. But that is not the objective of that active shooter. Because if we even look, for example, at Columbine, a lot of surveillance footage of that incident. And you had enough students that were killed, if not injured, and for a massive amount of time that that event was going on, these two jackasses were walking around doing what? At times they were in classrooms and they had students hiding under desks, and what were they doing? You guys remember? They were taunting them. They were sitting there playing with them. They didn't care about time. They didn't care about numbers. They went in there to cause frenzy and panic, to kill some people, and that's what they accomplished. If their objective was to kill as many innocent people, which is what the objective is of this terror threat that exists today and that is attacking us, if that was their objective, what would they not waste any time doing?
Talking.
They would not be walking, they would not be talking, they would not be taunting. They'd be flipping over desks, putting bullets in people as fast as they can. They understand, this threat understands that he has a very limited window of time, especially today. And we have ramped up our game, supposedly, and responding. They understand they have a very limited window of time before the good guys show up with guns. And they will not be able to continue killing. And so within those 8 to 12 minutes, the time that it takes for the good guys to get on scene and actually now move in and engage, they know that is their window to kill as many people as they can. And it's going to look very different than anything that North America has seen with active shooters. The terrorists or the terrorists are going to be kicking in doors, and they're going to be moving like a TAC team does. Deliberate and fast. They're going to run from room to room. One of the most difficult things I had to go through and stressful things I had to go through was go through my, it's called the BTOC in Canada, the Basic Tactical Orientation course. That's our SWAT qualification. When I got on the team there, I had to bite my tongue too many times. And I remember when we got to the active shooter component. It started out with classroom, lecture, theory, and the talk is there. Everybody knows to talk the talk. Roll to the thunder, that's the popular term that they use up there. I don't know if that's what you guys use here. Roll to the thunder. That means you got the gunfire, you get to it as fast as you can because innocent people are dying. So I'm in the classroom listening and I'm thinking to myself, so far it's sounding good. So far the talk is correct. But then we get to the practical. We're in the school. And it's my group's turn. We're in a cell of 4 officers. And we get up the stairs, about a 100-yard hallway, tons of classrooms. And it's deliberate, obviously. They make us come up at the one end, and the shooter is where? In the classroom, all the way at the very last classroom, 100 yards down from us. And so we get up, and you hear the gunshots. You hear the gunshots. And so what should we be doing? What?
Running.
We should be getting where? To gunshot as fast as possible. Okay, well that's common sense, and that is what we get taught. And so what did I do? I'm an Israeli. I'm properly an active shooter intervention, which I'll talk about that in a sec. I fucking ran. Get to the gunshots. Pause for a sec. The gunshots were not real. Even as I'm running, obviously, I've got years of experience in this subject, and I'm thinking to myself, this is bullshit. It's not even real. Because what did the gunshots sound like? This is what they sounded like. Bang! 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 You know what that is? That is the rhythm of some guy with his new gun on the range on a Saturday morning shooting at a paper target. That is utter bullshit if they're trying to make me believe that that is a terrorist in a room with 30 kids walking around killing them. Do you know what the gunshots are going to sound like when you have this threat inside a room of innocent people? Bang, 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 bang! That's what it's going to sound like. Why was that the rhythm of the gunfire in that active shooter qualification training? Why was
go
it?
through as many blanks, they're expensive.
I like the answer, but no. No. Why? And it was Sims, by the way, not blanks. More expensive. Sorry?
That's what he's used to being on the range. Is that what it was? He's just
so
not really training for the event, but what he's used to himself.
Now again, this is an instructor who's playing the bad guy in there, right?
Okay.
That's a great answer, but that's not the reason. The reason is what our training in North America is based on. It is that we cannot fail. We're not allowed to fail. Now, it's true, those words are true. We cannot fail. If we fail, innocent people are dead. We don't have the right to fail because we're the ones that made the decision to take this job, to swear to that oath. So we don't have the right to let the innocent people down. However, that is not the thinking of those words. The thinking that we cannot fail is that if we get to that classroom before he runs out of bullets and everybody is dead, then the tactics they're teaching us are not valid. They're meant for failure. Everybody understand? Everybody understand what I just said? They've conjured up tactics and theories, and now they manipulate training to make those tactics and theories succeed, instead of ensuring that those tactics and theories succeed in real life. That's what training is based on here in this country, in North America. You ever understand that? It's bullshit. Utter bullshit. Reality doesn't conform to us. Reality doesn't care about us. Reality is going to do its thing. We either conform and fit into it, or we're out of the game. So, I'm running, because running to that source of gunfire is 100% the correct response. We'll talk about that momentarily. I'm running. Rolling to the thunder, as the Canadians like to say, the experts on active shooter intervention and tactics. And what do you think happens? What do you think I start to hear?
What are you doing?
Yeah, lead instructor. My man, what the fuck are you doing? Fall back and wait for your team. Really? Well, first of all, the problem is what I've been talking about for the last 2 days. The platform of training in North America is about contradicting itself. It keeps on contradicting itself every step of the way, from shooting to tactics to everything in between. You just told me in class yesterday to roll to the thunder, and now you're yelling at me that I'm going too fast. Does any of that make sense? No. And then beyond the contradiction, it is not in line with reality. So, everybody here has gone through active shooter training, obviously, right? You're all law enforcement officers. These days, anybody who's a law enforcement officer, no matter what capacity, should be trained and versed in the concept and methodology of active shooter intervention. I know we spoke about this briefly yesterday, Andy, so put your hands up if your department teaches you and has a protocol or a mandate on single officer response. Who here has been trained, first of all, on single officer response for active shooter? You guys? No?
No.
Okay. Who here works for a department that has a policy on how many officers are supposed to respond, engage an active shooter environment or situation? Anybody? Is there any policy at all? Is there anything that says a minimum number of officers? No? No policy? Is there any talk about that? Is there any policy that says single officer, you're there, you go? Is there a policy on that?
I mean, it's pretty much if it comes out, we all go. That's
What do you mean?
anybody who's working, go.
I get that, but somebody is going to get to that scene first.
Yeah.
And what does he do? He or she?
Go on.
You go in and you use the active shooter training they've given us. You go in and then your backup will come.
Okay. I just want to focus just on the policy itself. So how do you guys know this, that you go in? if you're there by yourself, first one on scene?
Been hammered in our head since we've been there.
Okay,
And
so
the active shooter classes that they send us to, they'll go over that scenario. It's more of a group setting. We do it in a group setting.
okay,
But they do say, you know, if you're the first one there, our city is 7 square miles, 7.5. So if I get there, I'm going to go in. I know that hopefully someone's probably 10, 15 seconds behind me.
okay.
Hopefully
Yeah, good enough. We got it. No, that's awesome. I want to hear it all. It's just that I want the very first point of you've been told you go in. That's just where I want to stop for right now. I just want to focus on that, on the policy aspect, before we get into all the strategy and the micro tactics. Awesome. So that's great. Last year here when I ran this course, we had, I think it was 23 or 24 officers on the course. And there was a huge number, probably the majority, that the departments had an implemented policy of minimum numbers. When I teach this course in many places, the majority still have an implemented policy of minimum numbers. In Canada, Toronto Police, our largest municipal police service that Jimmy works for, still 4. Sorry?
Still 4.
Okay. Has to be 4 officers on scene. Now, SWAT qualified 2 is still the thing.
Yeah.
All right. So if 2 of them are on scene and they're both SWAT qualified, then they can go in. If they aren't, has to be minimum of 4. And the reason, Jimmy, why 4?
Officer safe.
Yeah, it's dangerous. Too dangerous. And I'll tell you that norm is still there, that you have a lot of departments that still have an instituted policy of a minimum numbers before they can engage. And for the ones that do have single officer response authorization, what kind of tactics do you guys get trained in?
As a department as a whole, they don't. If you're on our tactical team, you get some training, but everybody else, it's basically...
So just hey, you're a cop, you got a gun, just go, figure it out on your own.
Pretty much.
That's the number one problem, is that now everybody's come to that realization. Everybody has drilled into their minds, you have to respond. You got a single officer, it's your fucking job. You have a gun, and you took an oath to protect lives. There doesn't exist a single argument that anybody in this profession can make that would validate you saying, I'm not going in, it's too dangerous, when we have unarmed, innocent men, women, and children facing the threat. Shame on anybody who thinks that there's a valid argument to say it is an unsafe environment for a police officer to go in. If there's no innocent people, then you make that judgment call, 100%. But when you are pushed to that brink of what the purpose of this job is, to serve and to protect the innocent, there's no justification for it. So number one, places that do say, yeah, we're all for a single officer response, in the majority of the cases, there is no set methodologies and training to teach the single officer how to respond. In the areas that do say yes to a single officer response and there is training for it, what kind of tactics are they teaching a single officer?
Hallway movements, room entry.
Okay. So without breaking down the table of contents of it, it's all SWAT tactics. Everything is the exact same, correct? It's the exact same. The way a single officer will run through a hallway, will get to a door and enter. It's SWAT tactics. The principle of SWAT, or tactical units, has nothing to do with active shooter, I'll tell you that right now. It is absurd to me that when we run active shooter courses, the majority of people that attend and get sent are SWAT officers. You understand that? It is the lone, single deputy or constable officer out there who punches the clock and just does traffic and who knows what, that will be first on scene in 90% of every single active shooter incident. Historically, that's what the facts state, and that is just logically what it states, because there's more of them than there are SWAT guys. A lot of departments have part-time SWAT teams. And SWAT tactics are designed for SWAT, or tactical operations. Intelligence-driven and based operations. Controlled operations. Where we assemble, we orient, we get the resources, and we go in that way. That is not an active shooter predicament. There's no such thing as a controlled environment in an active shooter predicament. There's no such thing as intelligence in an active shooter predicament. Everything is improvised on the spot, and we are always playing catch up to it. The bad guy hit the go button, hit that first domino, and his row of dominoes is already near the end by the time we first show up on scene. And a SWAT team to go in, and we're gonna demo some stuff here, to go in through a doorway, the way that they do conventionally here in North America and all over the world, because they follow North American lead, is designed on the premise of you've got 4, 5, 6, 12 guys. What is designed for 4, 5, 6, 12 guys will not exist for 1 or even 2 guys, 2 officers. Self-negating concepts again. The terrorist objective is to kill as many innocent people as possible. Our objective is to do what?
Stop him.
Sorry?
Stop him. Save as many people as possible.
Very good. Is to save as many innocent people as possible. Understand, and I'm sure everybody does, you are going to have casualties in every active incident. You can't stop that. If we allow that threat to walk in through those doors and start shooting, you will have dead people. The question is, are you going to have 6 dead kids? Are you going to have 20, 30, or 40 of them? That is the question that will always be dictated by how it is that we respond. In Israel, we work off of the single officer concept, the single operator combatant concept, with everything that we do. It all starts in the military. We get taught to do everything on our own first, by ourselves. When we talk about active shooter specifically, it's the same thing. Everything starts with the single person response. And we're all trained the same. Military, police, government security, civilian security. It's the single officer first and foremost. And any active shooter methodology that is not based off of single officer response is not congruent with reality and is not going to be effective to reality. I'll tell you that right now. There are too many flaws with a team formation and team concept and multiple officer response concept. The single officer response platform, number 1, optimizes the capabilities and the confidence of the officer. If we jump into a scary, uncontrolled environment and we are all together, we're going to rely on one another. You can't have that in an uncontrolled environment. And we don't know what's going on. And we can't, the strategy happens on the fly, on the go. There's no time to relay information. It's running from classroom to classroom, executing people. You're not going to have time. There's going to be no delay. If you are relying on the team aspect, you are instituting by choice a delay. When we have a single officer who is trained to engage that environment by themselves, they're forced to operate as effectively as they can on their own. They learn how to take initiative on their own, to think for themselves on their own, to solve problems in a complicated environment on their own. That is where you develop the confidence and capabilities of a single individual. Become self-sufficient, learn to take initiative. Why is there this belief in numbers in teams? Because of safety, right? Officer safety. Well, it's false. The more you have doesn't mean that you're safer. It's the glue that binds everybody and the method that it does that will dictate whether or not there's safety. I give this example, okay? It's an analogy. If I have you guys in a car, okay? So you guys are behind the driver wheel. You guys are driving. And you're going down a highway. 100 miles per hour. Your field of view, okay, you've got somebody sitting on your passenger seat there to your right. Your field of view is divided. You can only see from center of the road to your side, to your left. Center to the right is obscured. You can't see anything. What happens from center to the right, you're going to rely on your partner beside you passing that information. That there's a driveway coming up on the right. There's a person running across the street on the right. You're going 100 miles per hour down this highway. And you can't see anything on the right. You have to get information and process it and make decisions that way. Is that going to be a comfortable predicament for you? Comfortable, yes or no?
No.
No. We have half of our vision that is taken away from us. Half of our radar and data processing platform is taken away from us. And that's not going to be comforting at all. If we take that exact same predicament and we put it now into a city street, a neighborhood street, and you're going 100 miles per hour down that street, and it's the exact same thing. You've got absolutely no visual acuity from the center to the right. More or less stressful. Hell of a lot more. Why? That environment is a lot more condensed and compacted, and there's a lot more variables, more cars, more people, dogs running across the street, who knows what else. You've got less space between driveways, so more chance of something happening. This is the exact same concept with an active shooter environment. It's chaotic. It is uncontrolled. People running all over the place. You don't know what's going on. You're picking up information on the fly. Things are going to happen really quick. It is up to you to be able to collect and to process and to make decisions. There's no time to rely on anybody else trying to collect and giving you information. Everybody understand that? So when we teach single officers to go into an uncontrolled, chaotic environment that is operating quickly, unfolding quickly under stress, they have to have the capability of operating on their own to be able to process and deal with the environment on their own. That is what makes them more effective. Lastly, you have an ethical responsibility to respond. I mentioned this briefly. There's no excuse for a police officer to show up on scene and to decide it's too dangerous for me to go in when we've got innocent people that are being executed. Absolutely no excuse for that. When we talk about now multiple officers, it is not a team. It's an addition of single officers. When we now have, we have a team, we have 10 of us, we are only as strong, as fast, as effective as what?
Weakest person.
Our slowest, weakest, most incapable person. That's what happens when you choose a team platform. That person, the lowest common denominator, will dictate the whole functionality of that team. Everybody, you guys work in formations? Yes? Active shooter? Okay. Formations are designed to do what? Safety, optimize safety. It's not going to make anything safe again. Because that's like going down that neighborhood street with only half a radar. You take front, you take right, you take left, you take behind. You're not going to see what's going on. You're not going to know what's going on anywhere else in time. There's always going to be a delay for information to get funneled through. What happens if one person gets taken out of commission all of a sudden? So you're a four-man formation and one officer gets taken out of commission, takes a round, falls down. Now what happens? What do you have to do?
Transition to a three-man formation.
Which means that transition means what? You now have to realize what happens, perceive it, analyze the situation, formulate a new plan, reorient tasks, and then go. Does that take time? How many Morrison kids do you have in that time? When we have one officer or 10 single officers all trained independently on their own, and they're operating on their own in that environment, if one person gets taken out of commission, if it's just the two of us in there, we're operating independently, but we happen to be two, and I get taken out of commission, what are you doing?
Still going.
You're still, nothing has changed. There's no hindrance, there's no disruption, no waste of time. That is a true force multiplier. A 10-man team is not a force multiplier. 10 individuals operating individually, taking initiative individually, with the ability to engage the environment independently and individually, effectively, that is a force multiplier. That makes it safer. You understand that? Make sense? Put your hands up if you have kids. Okay? So, you guys are all trained to operate in formations. Yes? Which means you are definitely not running to it. There's no way. You can't stand there and tell me that if you are trained to operate in formations, when there's gunfire, you're running to it. Not a thing. Am I correct? Yes, I am correct. Because a formation means what? It means you're in a team. You have to move as a team. It's an orchestrated concert. So gunfire happens down the hall, you're in your four-man formation, how do you move? What does it look like?
Faster in the formation.
Meaning what? Explain to me, define it. With words. Put the action to words.
It's not a sprint, it's just a
fast walk.
Faster walk.
It's a fast walk. You're walking, right? You're walking. I don't care about the speed because it's still in the category of walking. So, you're in your hometown, you're off duty. Or better yet, hold on, let me not put it that way. You're on duty, in your hometown. Do your kids go to school in your hometowns where you work, by chance? No? Well, let's say they do, okay? And your kids are in school, and there's an active shooter in there. And you pull up with your team. And there's gunfire. And your kids are in school. How are you going to move?
Sprint.
How are you going to move?
Fast
You're going to what?
as fast as I can get there.
Really?
As fast as I can.
I'm asking you. Is that an honest answer?
Yeah.
But what about the formation?
We don't go for an active shooter. We don't have a go by formation as a team. You get there.
And what do you do? So how do you guys move? How do you know where to go? Who goes where? Who does what?
You go where the shots are, and you go.
Everybody just follows. Okay.
There you go.
You didn't have kids, right? Not yet, anyways.
What's that?
Not yet, anyways.
Not that I know of.
All right. You guys work in formations? Yeah. And so you're in that formation now. Your kid's school. Gunfire's going off. What do you do? What do you do? What?
Break away.
What does that mean? What do you do?
Run.
Are you sure? Is that what you would honestly do? And what if your team is yelling, yo, 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 hey, Tony, get back here. Don't worry, we're going to move as fast as we can, but stick with the formation. What? What do you do? Andy?
I'm gonna go.
You going to leave the team behind?
Yep.
Absolutely. Yep.
That's interesting. So why do we just do that if it's possibly our own kids? So, in Israel, you know how our active shooter training begins? Once we get past all the classroom stuff, these are the type of targets that we use, all people targets. We get down to the kill house. Everybody gets a target, a stand with the paper on it. They give us a marker and they say, write your family member's name on it. And then we take those targets, we go into the kill house and we position them in all the different rooms. And then back out we go into our, I'm going to call it a formation, we don't use formations. And the drill begins. Anybody understand what they're teaching us? Our purpose, our job, is to save lives, even if it's somebody else's kid. So I've been in this business for long enough. Active shooter is my passion. Aside from my professional involvement, March 19th, 2012 was the first jihadist terrorist attack that occurred in France, Toulouse, France. I don't know if you guys will remember this. There was a Muslim jihadi terrorist on a moped that 2 days before he pulled up to two soldiers on the street of France, pulled out a gun, shot them both, killed them, and took off. 2 days later, he showed up at a Jewish kindergarten school in Toulouse. There were 4 people waiting on the curb waiting for the bus. There was a father with his 2 boys, a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old boy, and there was a little girl, 8-year-old girl, waiting there with them. He jumps off the moped, pulls out his gun, shoots the father point blank, the 3-year-old and the 6-year-old point blank. By this time, the little girl, Miriam, starts to run. He chases her down, grabs her, puts the gun to her head, and pulls the trigger. So she was a relative of mine. So I'll be damned if I'm going to stand around and listen to anybody dare wear this uniform and talk to me about officer fucking safety when your job, our job, is to protect the lives of these kids that these motherfuckers are going after deliberately today. You understand me? We started to get hit with these predicaments in Israel in the 70s, active shooters. Our first incident, Ma'alot High School in the north. 3 of these terrorists, armed with machine guns and with grenades, stormed a high school and started attacking. And that's in 1974. That is when our counter-terror doctrine was developed. And that's what we started to learn. We're either saving lives or we're not. And we have to save lives. There's no choice. And everything that we do with our active shooter platform, which is the only real, effective platform that exists for active shooter intervention, is the only thing that saves lives. Rules of engagement. It's speed over safety. We have no time to be safe. Our safety comes from aggression and from optimal tactics that we're going to look at. It's speed. Every second that we allow for this threat to remain alive, listen to the words, that we allow for him to remain alive, is another innocent person that is dead. It's our choice if we allow him that permission to do that. We get to the threat as fast as we can. We are not in a safe environment. There's a reason why police officers are issued firearms, because it is not a safe profession. Plain and simple. If you pull over a guy on the road and he jumps out and pulls a gun out and starts running down the street and shooting at people, would you fall back and wait for backup? You'd pull your gun and you would shoot. Because now you have a barrier in front of you, that suddenly means you're going to wait? No. It's the same thing. It's a competition, it's not teamwork. If there happens to be more of us there, we're not playing with each other. We're against each other. It's a hunting game. First one who finds a bad guy and kills him wins. That's the mentality. You have to take initiative. We might have a directive or a piece of intelligence that tells us to go down this hallway here. We're moving there, but all of a sudden I hear or see something that tells me a threat might be there. I take the initiative and I go. We have a classroom that we're supposed to run into, but the person in front of me runs past it because they missed it. What do? That was their responsibility. What do? I take it. You have to take initiative. You have to keep on looking for initiative. There's always something to do in an active shooter predicament. There's always things to do. Maximum weapons on the threat. We suddenly hear the gunfire. That's where all the weapons go to, immediately as fast as possible. If there's 10 of us, we've got 10 muzzles on that threat unloading to make sure we can take him out quickly and effectively. Our order of operations. Number 1, we have a threat, obviously, we engage. We engage quick, hard, aggressive, and we engage until when? Till threat what?
Down.
Goes down. Goes down, what do we do?
Go to threat. Close the distance.
Close distance as fast as possible. For us in Israel, we neutralize. I don't care what he's doing. I don't care if his hands are up. He's getting a bullet to the head. Because guaranteed that if he's there, there's somebody else still walking around. Or again, the whole predicament of maybe he's got a bomb belt on, because that's what they've done in the past. So, will you neutralize? Depends on the indicators he gives you. If he's still a lethal force threat or has a propensity to continue to be one, will you use lethal force? Yes, right? It's no different. Standard use of force engagement policies. If he's not, then unfortunately in North America, you have to make a decision of what you're going to do now. Are you going to take the time to put handcuffs on him? Me personally, I would kick him in the head as hard as I can, hope that he's knocked out. Maybe I'll get charged with assault instead of fucking murder. I don't know. You got to figure out what you're going to do. We neutralize or control, and then we keep on hunting. We hunt for indicators. Indicators are what lead us, the breadcrumbs that lead us to the threat. We have visual and audio indicators. Okay, so you come in through the front door of a school, you look right, there's nothing. You look left, you see a student run down the hall. Where do you go? Left, because there you have something. Here you have nothing. We always go to the something. We never go to the nothing. You come in at that front door, you look to the left, there's nothing. You look to the right, there's a trail of blood. Where do you go? You follow the trail of blood. That is an indicator. You come into the school, to your right you have a trail of blood. To your left, you can't see it, but you hear a scream. Where do you go?
Scream.
To the scream. That might be a much more fresher incident that's going on, right? Where the threat is. That is an audio indicator, okay? Everybody understands? We keep on hunting for indicators until we get to the threat. You get to the threat, we engage, close distance, neutralize or control, then you keep hunting for indicators. That's the cycle of operations. Threat identification under stress. And again, this is a stressful, chaotic, uncontrolled environment. You're going to have crowds of people. How do we identify a threat?
Got a weapon.
What do we look for? Which is
Weapon
going to be where?
Up and hunting. In his hands.
Hands. You come in through a door, you got a crowd of people. You have to be able to quickly discern where the threat is. You're looking for hands. That's what you care about. Hands. He's not going to kill you with his ugly face or his feet. Just like standard conventional use of force training. Officer survival training. We look for the hands. Okay? So we're in a room, we come in with a gun. Everybody's doing this, but I got one person who's doing this. Who's my concern right now? He is. Okay? Well, I shoot down to the hands and I see the knife or I see the gun. Do I engage right away? What else do you have to have? You got the hands got a weapon, and then what do we have to have?
They're using it, or intent to use it.
Intent. You got to have intent. For all I know, that's an innocent person who's got concealed carry permits, undercover police officer, I don't know, right? You have to get the intent. Hands, weapon, intent. You see the hands, he has a weapon, his intent is or looks like he's a terrorist, we engage. Okay? Any questions so far? Really quickly, you have these scenarios in the back of your book, okay? This is going to now isolate our strategy and then we're going to get to work. So, the triangle is us. These are rooms, obviously. We're on the doorway. Circles are innocents, X's are the terrorists, and these are barriers. We come up to the doorway. We have a crowd of innocents over here. We've got a barrier of sorts, and we have gunfire directed at the innocents from behind the barrier. Do I go left? Do I go right?
Right.
Why? Because you look at this and you assume that you're going to outsmart the situation and go in there and get them from behind. 0 plus 0 equals what? 0. 0 plus 0.0001 equals what? Is 0.0001 more than 0?
Yes.
We always go to the known. We always go to what we have. We never go to the nothing. We go here. Bust through the crowd. We're going to properly look at how it is that we mitigate barriers and doorways to keep ourselves optimal and safe, and we engage. We don't go to the nothing. I go this way and this all of a sudden ends up being blocked. I have no access. I have to now waste time going all the way back around. That time I wasted, I've caused what? I've caused more innocent people to die. We come to the doorway. Crowd of people. Maybe some of them are running through, some of them are hunkered down. Got a terrorist behind, and he's engaging at the crowd. Which way do I go? Left or right?
Right.
Ah, thinking. That's a trick question. We do not waste time. I bust through the crowd, right to the threat. The second I have an opportunity to engage, my weapon is coming up and I'm engaging. We're here to keep people alive, not injury-free. If I give somebody an elbow across the face to get them out of my way, then that's what happens. You understand? I got to get to that threat as quickly as I can. Come to the doorway. I've got a barrier. I've got two. Now, I call them innocents, but really everybody is an unknown. Okay? Pause for a second. Let me give us a quick little story. We had in Israel a few months ago the Sharona Cafe. It's an outdoor market cafe place in central Israel. There's restaurants and cafes and the whole bit. And we had two Palestinian terrorists that came in, very well dressed, in suits. Walked into the cafe. They had bags. They pulled out these Carl Gustav submachine guns and started spraying the crowd. I think I have the clips of it on my computer, which I will show you guys, because you'll understand the difference between a terrorist conducting an attack, an active shooter attack, and some mentally ill individual. The intent behind, the speed that they work with, they want to quickly hit, kill as many as they can. So they're going to town, they're quickly spraying right in this cafe. There was a point where one of their weapons jammed, and there was an older gentleman that tried to charge the guy. Unfortunately, the terrorist got his weapon back in action and shot him. And they take off. They take off. Two guys take off. They go running. In the neighborhood, so I have a very close friend of mine, spent 20 years in one of our most highly specialized units in the police in Israel. He now also lives in Toronto. And so a friend of his is a police officer who lived a couple blocks from the scene. And he starts getting the phone call of what's going on. And there's a knock at his door. And he opens the door. He's already got his gun in his hand. He opens the door. And there's this nicely dressed man over there in a frenzy, all panicked. And he's saying there's shooting and they're killing people. Please help. I need some water. I need some water. And the guy brought him in. This terrorist was speaking Hebrew. Gave it away. The guy was speaking Hebrew. Invited him in, told his wife, get him some water, lock the doors. Took his gun, and this cop went down to the scene. And all of a sudden, information starts going out, and the descriptions are starting to go out. Arab males, black hair, well-dressed, white buttoned shirts and black jackets. And he's going, oh, fuck. Everybody to my house now. Went back, and that was one of the terrorists. So, everybody is an unknown in this environment. No such thing as innocence. They're all unknowns to us until we can confirm that they're not threats. So we come up to here. I got nothing here. I've got unknowns there. Where do I go?
To the people.
Okay. This is my first indicator, is the people. I bust through. I quickly check hands. I try to make a quick assessment. If it's a threat, no threat. If it's a threat and he fooled me, so be it. This is the realities of an active shooter situation. Okay? The majority of the people in this environment may not know what the threat looks like. And the threat goes in, starts blasting people, tosses his gun, takes his jacket off, puts on somebody else's jacket, runs into another classroom and says, I'm one of the good guys here. Nobody's going to know. Okay? That can happen. So these guys are nothing. No identifiable threats. What is my next indicator in the room here? The wall. The barrier. Could there be somebody hiding behind there? Absolutely. Okay, that becomes my next barrier. We have two ways in which we work or mitigate barriers. The first one is what we refer to as the 45-90. 45 degrees, 90 degrees. Those are the only two angles that we work with when we slice the pie, because we have to balance speed with the concept of being effective and safe. When this barrier becomes my indicator, then the way that I open it is 45-90. And we'll talk about that when we get momentarily into the actual training here. I come to the doorway. I've got this barrier in the middle of the room, and here I have a terrorist. What do I do? Immediately, what do I do?
Go at him.
Sorry?
Go at the terrorist.
Go at him?
Shoot him.
I gotta shoot him first. Engage, right?
Engage, sorry.
Good, no problem. Okay, I engage. I engage until when?
He goes down.
Until he's down. He goes down, what do I do now?
Close the distance.
Now, I got to bolt to him. He is my primary indicator here, but is this a concern?
Yeah.
Yes, it is. So, this becomes my secondary. This, we use what we call a glance. As I run, I control my stop. When I get to this threshold, I stop and I quickly glance, and then I keep going. My weapon, my body, stay oriented towards the threat. My eyes quickly glance. If it's clear, I keep going. Okay? Come to the doorway. Barrier, threat. Identify the threat. What do I do?
Engage.
Engage. Until when?
He goes down.
He goes down. He goes down. What do I do?
Close the distance.
Close the distance. What do I have here? I've got a secondary indicator. I've got a barrier. So what do I do? How do I mitigate it? Sorry?
Glance.
Very good. Control the stop at the threshold. I glance. I see another threat. What is my priority now?
Second threat.
I got to engage him, right? So I'm stopping here. I'm on the barrier, and I engage. Engage until when?
Goes down.
Till he goes down. Very good. All right. Then what do I do? So I'm standing here. I've just engaged him. What do I do?
Check the other guy.
Check here, then check here. Good. Come to the doorway. I've got a barrier. I have this threat. Identifying. Engage. He goes down. I close the distance. This barrier. How do I mitigate it? What do I use?
Glance.
Glance. So that's my secondary indicator at this point. I've checked him or neutralized him, whichever one is conducive to the moment. Now what do I have here? I've got a secondary barrier. That's my next indicator. Run up, and how do I mitigate this one?
4590.
Very good, 4590, because this now becomes my primary indicator. Okay? Good. Last one. We're on the doorway. Threat. I engage. He goes down. I start to close the distance. As I'm doing my environmental scans, as I'm running, closing the distance, I see that in the far end of the room, on the opposite end of where I'm going, I've got this barrier. How do I mitigate it? What do I use? Glance. Okay. Do I go to that barrier? No. I stay on this trajectory here. I stop at the threshold from here. Glance, and then keep going. Okay? Any questions on any of this? Okay. So, what we are going to do right now, active shooter predicaments, for us, the majority of them occur in outdoor environments in Israel. We have terrorists that penetrate into towns and they go house to house and start to shoot. It's an outdoor predicament. Hell of a lot more complex and different than in a confined, contained space such as a school. Talk about a contained space, such as a building or a school. What is the most dangerous on a micro level? Think about all the stages, everything that we do, and we actually function through that environment. What is the most dangerous point for us in that structure? Very good. Like in any environment where we have to enter and there's a potential threat, this is the most dangerous, these are wide doorways, dangerous and problematic element right here. Not the hallway and not inside. What is more dangerous, the hallway or inside a room? Sorry?
Inside?
Hallway.
Why hallway?
More unknowns.
You don't.
Much bigger environment, more that I have to be able to identify, more hiding places, more areas where a threat can pop up at different distances and engage me before I can potentially see him. Inside the room, it's smaller, more confined, and limited in terms of the geography and the environment. But the doorway is the most dangerous and the most complicated. And that's what we're going to start to work with right now. We're going to start to work with a single officer intervention of how we move through the hallway and get to the door and now have to enter the room. That's where we're going to begin, okay? On that note, before I get to that, we're going to do a little demonstration because I want us to be stuck with reality here. So who here is SWAT qualified? So you guys work, you're not, Tony? Not yet. Put your hands up again. So 1, 2, and 3. All right? You guys are going to be an entry team. Okay? I'm going to give you guys your scenario momentarily. 1, 2, 3. Come inside the room, please. What I want you guys to do, huh? Can't hear you. A squad, okay. What I want you guys to do. Just go up over here for a second. This is going to be an active shooter predicament. All right? So dynamic exercise you guys use. So that's what you guys are going to do. All right? So huddle up. Take time to put together a little plan here. I'll get with you guys in a second.
Stand by, go, go, go.
Hands.
Get down. Get down, let me see your hands. Start checking.
Okay, index. Good. All right. I'll explain this momentarily. Okay. I've become very wise over the years on how to do things.
I'm gonna be on your Facebook page. You already are.
Okay. So it's 1, 2, 2, and 3. All right. You're number one. Explain what the situation was to the other guys here because they didn't know what was going on.
There was a shooting in this room. That's all I knew.
Active shooter. When they got the go, that indicated the last round that they heard. Okay, so they're already in the hallway moving and gunshots are going off. All right. So the type of entry was what?
Left, right, left.
And so you came in. What were you supposed to do? What did you do? What did you do?
Dug my corner. I saw you with the handgun right here.
How soon?
As soon as I walked in.
As soon as you walked in.
Well, as soon as I turned into the room, I guess. I didn't look over that way, but over there.
Okay. Would you have been able to engage me and remain alive?
Probably not.
Why?
You probably got a better angle than I do.
I like probably. That's why I made my phone video. That's awesome. Number 2.
Yep.
What did you do? What did you see? What happened?
He went that way. I came in his corner. I wasn't sure if that target was in play or not, so
Okay, sorry about
I
that.
started
Okay.
going towards that.
All right. That's my bad. It wasn't, but okay. Are you alive?
I'm saying yes because I trust that he was taking care of you.
Oh, so we're into this teamwork thing all of a sudden, right? That's what teamwork is. Teamwork is I'm alive, or the innocent guy's alive because, hey, the guy here or this guy there or that one there did their job. Okay. I'll put that momentarily. Number 3.
I came in and immediately saw these guys. I moved offline of the fatal funnel here and started addressing the people that I saw. Just get down.
Okay.
I didn't know that you were over here. I couldn't see you, so I addressed what I had here.
Okay. Incidentally, you just mentioned a term that is one of my absolute favorite myths in this life. Fatal 5?
Yes.
Oh wow, confidence. I don't want to make this he said, she said.
That was a good stop, though. You stopped it right.
I don't want to stop him. I don't want to shot you. When did you see me?
I thought I
Remember your words. As soon as I walked into the room, I
Yeah,
saw
well-
you. All right? You're wearing sunglasses, but we know where you're looking.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Look at all the stages here. How many rounds you take?
1, 2, 3. Probably.
Now, even if you were still in the game, right? I asked you if you were alive. All right? I'm loading a barrage here. I'm effective because rounds are nowhere near me, right?
Okay.
What's going on with you? However, we see here, right? How many rounds did he take? Boom, 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 boom. By the time he reacts to them, you're already in the threshold. Am I going to be shooting you?
Oh, yes.
Well, of course I would. No such thing as probabilities in my world. Okay? If he's down and you're still making your way in, this you're ready. Okay. Here it comes, guys. Let you guys see what we see here. See it? Okay, so just normal here. So I'm obviously the bad guy. There's my gun. Never see what's going on. And he's got eyes on me, but by the time he has eyes on me, number 2 is already exposed, and by the time his weapon in the line of fire before he gets on me. I got to the point that I started doing this drill and I started filming it because I don't want to sit here now. We all know. I have an honest belief of what happened and what we did and truly believe it. So if you believe it, you believe it, right? Or we can't accept that it didn't go the way that we planned it, the way that we are used to. So I let the video do the work for me. I hate iPhone, but I love it for that. Okay? There's a big problem here. You guys are a team. There's 3 of you, there's 1 of me. And who won this gunfight? I did. That mathematically doesn't make sense. But there's 3 of you, 3 guns against 1 of me, 1 gun, and I still potentially win. So let's talk about this. Number 1, let's talk about what happens inside the room if we have a threat there. There are 3 possible scenarios that you will encounter. The first predicament, the best case for us, is that that's a doorway, I'm in the room, I'm the bad guy, I have my weapon, I am not anticipating you coming through that door, and I coincidentally, by pure luck, happen to not be oriented towards that door. My radars are nowhere near that door. And you come up to the door. That's the best case scenario for you, worst case scenario for me. Okay? So, will you be able to engage you before I even have a chance to know that you're there? Yes. The second is where I don't know that you're coming, but I happen to be oriented towards this door. Who has the upper hand here? I do.
Yeah.
Not you. Me. Why? You're coming into a 360-degree environment not knowing where I am. Do I know where you are? Yes. I have 1 angle to concern myself with. I have 1 thing to look at. If you happen to come in the direction where I'm facing, it might be a scenario of who's faster of doing this. But if I happen to be here, I'm going to see your gun first. You saw the video. What do we see first when we make entry? We don't put our heads in first, our radars first, and then bring the gun to. What comes in first? This piece of metal. And then the hand, the wrist, the forearm, the elbow, the bicep, the shoulder. And then the head comes in. Then your radar comes in. So I'm ahead of the game still. I will suddenly notice a disruption. My weapon comes out. You may still not be in a predicament to see me. Worst case scenario for us. I hear you. Oh, the good guys are here. There we go. Get my detonator ready, and let's make this happen. Let's end it. So I know where you're coming in from. I'm anticipating you, and I'm going to position myself not only to where I'm facing that doorway, I have an angle on it, but where I know you'll be at a disadvantage, like I just did there. I'll go down the corner. In Israel, we get that all the time. We get them sitting in attics. In the Middle East, construction in the Middle East, you probably know this, Mike, it's small. Homes are small. So how do we mitigate that and have storage space? There's attics. It's a tunnel that goes, adjoins every room, and that's the space you throw things in. And we have terrorists sitting up there like this with AK-47s, waiting for us to come in, and then they start to spread from the top. Anybody here ever have a refrigerator or a stove shoot at them? That's what they do. They will configure the refrigerators. They'll have their little watermelon and their little freaking plate of whatever in there, and no shelves. And there'll be 2 holes drilled into the door of the refrigerator. One for their eye and one for the muzzle of their AK. and they hear us coming, breaching that door, they run to the fridge, toss the watermelon out, jump in, close that door, stick that muzzle out the one hole, with their eye ready, and then we come in. You know how long it takes you to realize that a refrigerator is the source of fire? And so these are things that they do. So I'll be right there in that corner. I might be hiding behind an innocent person, behind a desk. I have one angle to concern myself with, you have 360 degrees. You have to first perceive me. You have to identify me, and then you have to engage me. All I have to do is this. You understand? So, why do we storm through the doorway? Why do we rush through the doorway? You said it.
Aggression.
No.
Well, fatal funnel.
Oh, fatal funnel. No. The reason that we rush through is because of the concept of.
Fatal funnel.
I don't want to say it. I hate it. I don't know what you guys say. Okay? The myth of the fatal funnel. What is the fatal funnel? Explain to me what it is and how it applies here.
Like a funnel, I guess. I'm a bad guy, I know that the good guys are going to pour in this little area and spread out. So if I aim my fire at this little area, I'll do the most damage instead of trying to spray my fire across the whole room. So we all get, that's the best way I can describe it. I mean, you know what I'm trying to say. You just want me to mess it up.
You want me.
Very good. Okay. So this is the fatal funnel because this is where bullets travel? Yes, is that what it is? Is where bullets go?
Easiest for the bad guy to direct his fire into one area and do damage.
Okay. So this is the danger right here, this opening. This is where rounds go. Theoretically, that means that all you need to do, stand back there, sprint as fast as you can, do a dive roll, jump back up here, take a moment, catch your breath, get your weapon out, and then shoot it. Right? Because that's where the rounds are going. Yes? Yeah, all you have to do is avoid this. As fast as you can, just avoid this. This is the line of fire. I'm standing here as a bad guy, I'm doing this. Boom, 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 boom. Holy fuck, what a nice roll. Shit. Well, I missed you. I got this guy. Boom, 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 boom. Yes? And so, what is our response to that? Rush through that doorway. Avoid fire. Run away from bullets. Really? Maybe at 100 yards, you can run away from a bullet. Maybe. In a closed space, you're going to avoid, again, you're going to avoid a bullet by moving. You're going to dodge a bullet. This ain't the Matrix. Number one. Number two, my rounds are directed at this door, and you come running through. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? What's the bad guy going to do?
Start tracking.
He's following you every step of the way. No such thing as a fatal funnel. You're in a fatal environment. No such thing as a fatal funnel. This theory was conjured up by somebody who watched this dynamic scene and hit pause. There's a way that assessment is made in this line of work. It's on pause. It's freeze frame. They forget the whole dynamic unfolding and middle and end. So we hit pause. Look, the bad guy's shooting at the door, at the opening. So run past it and you're fine. They forget to hit play to finish off the story where he does this and follows you. Everybody understand so far? There's no such thing as a fatal funnel. You are in the line of fire every step of the way from the second that you are exposed to the threat, no matter where you are. If you run through the door, do you know what's going to happen to you? You'll only end up dead with more bullet holes than if you stay on the door. Understand so far? Any comments on that? Challenges? Counter-arguments? Anybody? You know what's fit? Oh, yeah.
I was just going to say, I just waiting for your
answer?
How do you fix
solution?
What's the answer? What's the solution?
Oh, we have the solution.
I know you did.
We have the solution. Before I get to that, What else contributes to this notion of the fatal funnel? The fatal funnel exists because we are allowing the bad guy to do what? To shoot. If we stay on that doorway and we unload rounds, that is no longer a fatal funnel. The bad guy now is in the fatal area. It's a matter of who dominates from their territory. Does everybody understand that? It becomes fatal because we have a source of fire that is unhindered, directing his fire not at the doorway, at us who happen to be in or around the doorway. If we get weapons in here and we start to unload, is he shooting back now? If he is, it's ineffective, it's hindered, or he is not because he's hit or he's taken cover. Is that now a fatal funnel? No. Whoever dominates creates the fatal environment. Everybody understand? So let's talk about one last point. In policing in North America, you're under fire, what do? What does the rule book say? What are you taught? What are you drilled? What do? You're under fire, what do you do? What do you do? No. 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 What are police officers taught? You're taking fire, seek cover. Right? That's what everybody's taught. Seek cover. So, when you're talking about conventional engagements, I'm the police officer, I've got him, I don't know who he is, I don't know what he's about, I don't know that he's got a gun on him, and all of a sudden, he punches me in the face, pulls his gun out, and shoots. And the policy says I need to find cover to survive. I have all my known variables here. I know where the source of fire is, I can access it, and I'm told to do what? To hide before engage. What do we have here? I have an unknown. I don't know what's going on here. I don't know who the threat is, what he looks like, where he is. I have a mathematical equation with no variables, and I have to solve it. There, in that scenario, I have a mathematical equation with all the variables. I can solve it. Here, I've got no variables, and I'm being told to do what? To just jump in. Meanwhile, on a doorway, what do I have? Well, we have a door, and it's surrounded by what? Well, let me ask you this. Here's a scenario. We're standing right now in proximity like this, okay, to where Todd is to me, and there's going to be a gunfight. All right? The gunfight, I'm in the neutral ready, and your gun is in the holster. Oh, relax. Your gun is in the holster. Okay? I punch my gun out and start to shoot. That is when you have to reach for your gun and return fire. Good predicament for you?
No.
No, horrible. You're going to get shot multiple times, right? So I'm going to give you something here. I'm going to let you choose how this scenario is going to go. Okay? Option number one, you have nothing between us. Or option number two, you have cover between us. You get to choose. Which one would you take? Again, Todd, I'm here. Watch this. Watch. Ready?
Cover.
Ready? Ready? Here's what we're going to do. Watch. So when I punch my gun out and I start to fill you full of lead, you're going to draw your gun on me. Ready? Boom, 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 boom. Nothing or cover? What would you like? What would you choose?
Cover.
Cover.
Really?
Cover, but I want to get my gun out.
Okay, I would choose cover. All right? Why? Because it gives us something to hopefully buy us some time to hopefully be able to draw our gun and return fire before we get hit. Option number two, you can have cover between us or concealment between us. Which would you choose?
Concealment.
What would you choose?
Cover.
Cover.
You say, what
I
did you say?
said concealment. Cover.
Oh, cover. Of course. I would choose cover too. Concealment is what? Does concealment stop bullets?
No.
No. Right? I want something that will stop bullets to hopefully prevent me from getting shot so I can reach my weapon in time. Option number three. Nothing or concealment?
Concealment.
Concealment.
I guess concealment.
Concealment.
I would choose the same. Is concealment going to keep me alive, safe? Maybe, maybe not. We have no clue. Concealment does what? It hinders the visual acuity of the threat, which means that he may not know where to direct the bullets, so I have a chance at maybe those bullets missing me, buying me a couple extra microseconds of being able to effectively return fire and shut his lights out. If I tell you that you are in a life or death situation right now, that you might die, and I'm giving you two options. Option number one is you have 0 chance at survival. Option number two, you have 0.000001 chance percent of, or 0.00001% chance of survival. Which would you choose? 2, because that is still something over nothing. Concealment is something over nothing. Cover is a little bit better something over nothing, and over the lesser something that concealment is. On every single doorway you encounter, what will you always have surrounding that door? Either cover or concealment. I don't know if this stops bullets or not. In a lot of places, schools for example, it's all made out of concrete. It's cover almost every single time. Office buildings, usually drywall, plywood. So, is it going to stop a bullet? Probably not. But is it going to potentially give me some concealment? Is that better than nothing? If I jump into this doorway, into this room, I have nothing. And I don't know where the threat is. And he will be able to shoot me, chances are, before I can even identify him. You understand? So how do we mitigate this? Well, let me just throw in one extra variable here. So put your gun out on the door. Stay where you are and you just draw it out there. Okay? Mike do the same and Todd do the same. Come over here, Todd, over here. And I'll leave a bunch of weapons at the door. We saw what happened when there was one of me in this room and 3 of you came in. What if I'm now 1 and 3 of you are in here? Do I stand any chance? No. No. Okay? 3 of you barely stood a chance against 1. Well now, if I, working through the doorway, what have I done now? Have I suddenly optimized my chances? Big time. Cover. I don't know what this is, but even on my own right now, I have just managed to completely dissect this environment to keep me out of the line of fire for long enough to mitigate everything in here. Now, maybe I'll be out here and I'm engaging him and you're going to start blasting through the wall. It's possible. One thing I guarantee you is though, you come running in here and the bad guy's in here, he's going to start blasting at you, so the result is the same. It's the same. You understand that? However, if you're out here and it's concealment, maybe you'll start blasting through the wall, but you're not hitting me because you're not aiming in the right place. And I'm engaging him, and by the time he goes down, I'm still alive, or not impacted enough that I can still continue to work and I can still get you. Does that make sense? If this is cover, go ahead, blast through the wall. I don't care. I'm engaging him. What are you going to have to do if you want to engage me? You're going to have to step into this line of fire, in my line of sight, line of fire. And regardless of that, I'm forcing you to come into one line of trajectory. So all of you can step into all of you in a straight line. So in Israel, we learned nobody comes rushing in through a door in real life. How many people do you guys know who have come rushed through a doorway knowing that there was a guy with a gun ready to engage them? Rush through a doorway knowing there's a guy with a gun inside, a threat with a gun inside, ready to engage them. Anybody know of anybody that's done that? A lot of all the people that were shot, okay, officers, soldiers shot coming into a room, they came rushing in there because did they think that a person was in there with the gun on the doorway ready for them?